What is up, my friends? You are all very welcome along to tonight's stream. I thought it was Friday today, which is weird considering I know I've got the live show on tomorrow. All day I've been thinking it's Friday, so I hope I'm not alone in that one. But look, I would say, a lot to get through tonight, but unfortunately, truth of the matter is, it's been a day of more frustration. You know, you've probably seen this yourselves on social media. Obviously, the team were travelling back overnight from Singapore, so the lads have the day off today, but it's just another day we're closer to kicking off the season. Another day we're sitting here frustrated, twiddling their thumbs while we look at other clubs in the Premier League spending significant amount of money, bringing in backup goalkeepers that are 25, 30 million quid, and we have to sit here hearing our manager saying he wants a defender, but yet no bids for a defender have gone in. We're sitting here figuring out if Lavia will end up playing for Southampton this weekend because the championship kicks off, or, you know, what happens if he picked up an injury in that game. So there is a lot to go through tonight, and it's frustrating, isn't it? It's frustrating, and it's, you know the word I'm coming out with next. It's pathetic. But I'm going to let you guys do the ranting tonight. I'm going to try and keep myself composed as much as possible, albeit I'm starting to get a little bit annoyed. You know, shock horror, Craig gets annoyed. But look, the fair question is, what on earth have we been doing? You know, we've had a whole summer here, and we've done nothing in, I think I'm right in saying, 4.5, 5 weeks with regards to transfers in. Now, you can talk about a few kids that have come in, fair enough, but they're not going to save our season. And every day that goes by, it gets harder and harder to envision a title challenge. It gets harder and harder to think about Liverpool realistically being back up near the top of the table. And that's before we get into the conversations about other players, other clubs. And I like to think that Jurgen Klopp is equally as frustrated as we are. I've been reading through the chat before we went live tonight, and there is some people who are maybe a bit frustrated at Klopp as well. And that's a subject I did want to speak about tonight, you know. Who is responsible for these failures? Because obviously FSG, the owners, they take the ultimate blame, but there are other people involved in Liverpool's transfer business that it's fair for us to ask, what have they been at? George Schmadtke, the scouts, Barry Hunter. I want to know, because this is unacceptable. It's unacceptable that a club that knows they've such a huge rebuild to do is once again, we imagine, nickel and diming it. And trying to play things. And look, I read somebody in the chat say, have any of you ever negotiated for anything in your life? And I get where they're coming from with that comment, but ultimately, yes, I have negotiated for stuff. I'm sure people in the chat have, but we negotiate to get stuff when we want it, not when selling clubs are sorting their season out and wanting to get rid of players. Liverpool have had a year and a half to sort this out. Liverpool have had a year and a half to plan for this, to budget for this, and to get things in place. So the fact that it looks like it'll be another hectic last month of the window, it's just not good enough. It's poor planning. It's even poorer succession planning. And again, who's responsible for that? It's the owners. Ultimately, it's the owners. Liverpool, thank you, mate. Appreciate you said love the show. Thank you very much, mate. Back Klopp or we'll lose him, said Keegan. Well, I don't see Klopp leaving of his own volition before his contract runs out. And I also don't think the owners, as stupid as they are at times, are that stupid to sack him. So it doesn't help when Klopp isn't calling it out. And we would like Klopp to call it out a little bit more, right? We'd like him to get a bit more frustrated and be open and honest about what's happening. But he says he wants a defender, and that's his priority. But yeah, no offers that I'm aware of have gone in for centre-backs. And I'm saying that sincerely. People in the chat are trying to say maybe Inacio will come in quickly, but my point about Inacio is the same. There's a buyout clause in his contract. It's 45 million euro. Liverpool know how they could get him without having a headache if they so wished. So why aren't we doing it if he's the one? Lots of these players we've been linked with have buyout clauses and will be very easy to get on board, but we haven't done it yet. And I guess the question is, why haven't we done it yet? Mr. Mr. Ragav, thank you, buddy, for joining Anfield Agenda Ultras. Pleasure to have you with us. Thank you so much for your support. Craig, please say, where's the money, John? Where's the money? I feel like tomorrow night on the live show, I feel like I'm going to do a little bit of ranting about where's the money, John. And do you know what? It's going to be lovely tomorrow to be able to have some real human reaction to opinions on the owners. because I'm going to be going around the audience asking people how they feel about the situation. The Hawk Lord, thank you, bud, for your super chat. Really appreciate you. Much love from Peterborough again. Flynn, you're back in. Love it. Hope you're well. Or Finn, excuse me. What's a buyout clause? Okay, so I'm a Connor. In some leagues, like Spain as an example, legally, players' contracts have to have a buyout clause or a release clause in them. They can vary somewhat, but the gist of it is usually, let's say there's a €45 million release clause in Inaccio's contract at Sporting. If Liverpool or any club wanted to buy him, they have to go in and lodge the full amount of that release clause. That then triggers the contract, and he can negotiate, and there's nothing his club can do about it. Now, that doesn't mean you can come to an agreement with his club. Of course, Liverpool could talk about payment terms. Liverpool could try and get the deal done. And there have been instances in the past of Premier League clubs or other European clubs paying a little bit over the buyout clause in order to get the payment structure more friendly to them, so they don't have to come up with all the money in one go. For instance, when we bought Thiago, we paid 5 million up front to Bayern and then 5 million a season for the 4 years of his contract. So there are ways around it, but ultimately, if you want the player bad enough and the club isn't willing to negotiate, if there's a release clause in there, you can trigger that release clause, and then it's up to the player, and there's nothing the selling club can do about it. Now, in Spain, I believe if you're paying a buyout clause, that has to be lodged in, I'm not sure if it's La Liga offices or the Spanish FA's offices. I think it's La Liga's. And other European clubs also do have that rule. Now, there's no hard and fast rule for the Premier League to have buyout clauses. There's no legal obligation. Some clubs have it, some clubs don't. Some players have it, some players don't. So ultimately, mate, that's what a buyout clause is. My sources tell me Inacio will be a Liverpool player by next Wednesday, said Samyak. So the thing about that is, mate, I don't know if you're true or it's true or it isn't. I truly don't. But if Inacio's the one that we want, what has taken so long? Like, let's say he's the one that Liverpool really do want. So let's work off the basis that Inacio from Sporting Lisbon is the centre-back that Liverpool have their eye on. There's absolutely no excuse for Liverpool not buying him in the first week of the transfer window. It's pathetic. Because he could have been in the camp in Germany. He could have been over in Singapore. He could have been playing, getting to know his teammates, building up relationships with them, building up relationships on the pitch with them, and getting used to the system, getting used to the intensity Klopp wants him to play with. And we've just thrown all that away. And if we end up going and buying the player, again, I'm going to ask, where's the succession planning? Where's the opportunity to give Jurgen Klopp the best chance to get this lad up to speed? It's just pathetic. It really, truly is. There's no business in the world that would act this way. Only in football. I don't get it. Like, look at other clubs. We're seeing Arsenal going out there and spending big money just to have a keeper to compete with Ramsdale. Today we've seen Chelsea, I think it's 25 million they're going to pay for Sanchez to bring him in. So they're bringing in a keeper to put competition with Kepa. And they're continuing to spend. And there's an article out today that suggests that Chelsea are looking for investment. Yes, you heard me right. They're looking for investment to kick their spending on. Now, that's Chelsea, who've spent, I want to say, at this point, 700 or 800 million under Todd Bowley. And we have Liverpool, Jurgen Klopp, the promise of a big summer, the promise of a rebuild, the promise of a new midfield, the promise of a defender. And we've got 2 midfielders in that we got in the first week or so. And the rest of the time, we've just been sitting on our hands, watching everybody else strengthen. And I don't know why. It doesn't make sense. It really doesn't make sense. Like, it only makes sense if Liverpool are waiting to hear from a club about the availability of a player. Like, let's say Colwill. This would make sense if Colwill was the one that Klopp wanted and he was unsure that he was going to sign a new deal. He has signed that new deal. He's going to be at Chelsea for the next 6 years. I think there's even a clause to add on a 7th if he wants to trigger that. So we knew that wasn't going to happen. So Inacio, if our friend here is correct, that's an easy deal. Go get it done. Could have been done on the opening day of the window. Is there any news of McAllister's injury? Yes, he's fine, Finn. He's absolutely fine. Jurgen Klopp spoke about this in his post-match presser. He said he could have played the second half. You know, McAllister said to him in the dressing room, look, I could play, but Klopp just said there's no point taking a risk. Just let it heal, let the swelling go down a little bit, and he's absolutely fine, mate. So, good news in that regard. It's KDS said, it's getting difficult to be positive. Buddy, here's your brother. I'm with you. It is. And it's getting difficult to even understand what the hell is going on. Because it's not logical. It's not rational that Liverpool are doing this. It's not like they went in, let's say, for Inacio, put in an opening bid, it was rejected, they've gone away and thought about it and decided they'll wait a bit longer, see if they get a bit more desperate to sell. That hasn't happened. Nothing has happened. What has George Schmadtke been doing? Truly. Szoboszlai, we spoke about this at length, that happened with the Carvalho deal, negotiation, came clear Liverpool could do it, and Liverpool acted quickly. So we know Liverpool can act quickly. We paid the Szoboszlai release clause. The rest of it, your guess is as good as mine. Look how long the Fabinho deal dragged on for. Liverpool knew for that time that they were going to need to bring in a defensive midfielder, and they knew that they were going to lose Jordan Henderson, so they knew they had to bring in another player. But we didn't. We waited and waited and waited, and now Southampton kick off the championship campaign at the weekend, and if they so wish, Lavia could be in their 11. What happens if he gets injured? Real serious question. What happens if Lavia goes in, plays in the opening weekend and picks up an injury? What's Liverpool's transfer plan like then? These are unnecessary risks that don't need to be taken. Whitehammer, thank you for your super chat, my friend, said, you know who I feel sorry for? Klopp. Alisson, Van Dijk and Salah coming to the twilight of their careers as world-class footballers, and they're wasted in this club with zero ambition. It's hard to push back against what you've said. So I believe Klopp has ambition. I believe those players have ambition. I believe the young lads have ambition. But that needs to start right from the top, doesn't it? That identity needs to trickle down from the top to the bottom. And we're not seeing that. We're not seeing any ambition from the owners. We're seeing what we thought was going to happen. We're seeing what this channel warned about happening. Excuses, letting the window drift by. And the closer we get to the end of the window, the more you'll start to see the stuff about investment in the future, the stuff about big money transfers happening January or next summer, and the same will happen again. It'll be all nonsense. If FSG are still owners when Klopp leaves, I'm dreading what will happen, said Callum Spence, and thank you, Callum, for your super chat. The market is very unstable, said Douglas Wright. I don't know what you mean by unstable. Look, prices are inflated. There's no doubting that, Douglas. What Saudi have done, what Chelsea have done, what PSG and Man City and Chelsea before them have done is come up with a way to clubs to justify the likes of asking £50 million for a 19-year-old with one season's experience in the Premier League. So it's hard to argue back against you, mate, when you say the market's a little bit unstable or volatile. It is, but it is also where we're at. And we don't get to say, oh, well, the prices have inflated, so suddenly we don't need players. If the owners aren't willing to look at the landscape of football finance right now and stay at the club, why are they here? Sell up, get multiples of your investment and disappear and hand the reins over to somebody who isn't interested in having the stomach for the fight, who is interested in supporting the manager, because FSG aren't. It was an empty promise by FSG. I mean, it's sad to admit that and to think that, but yeah. Craig, how does a team that has won a Champions League, a Premier League Cup and trophies be in this predicament? Manipulation of the media. So I've warned for a long time about the impact of people who are afraid to call out ownership, people who are afraid to be critical of the club. And the club have a lot of these people by the short and curlies, because if you're critical, if you speak out, access removed, availability to get into press conferences, all that kind of stuff. So this is where independent media like us come into play. So for anyone that's critical of fan channels, well, we're the one outlet that can actually stand up and criticize, because we don't care. And I'm not just talking about Anfield Agenda, I'm talking about right across football fan bases. Look at the United Stand, look at AFTV, whatever you think of any of these channels, they at least have the freedom to be critical. They at least have the freedom to stand up and speak their mind. And right now, I'm just trying to get everybody as I can on the same page. Because if we don't start to call these owners out even more, if we don't start to ramp up the pressure, if we don't start to embarrass these people into actually doing what's good for the club, they'll just continue. Because why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't they just go, well, we're getting the TV money, we'll probably qualify for the Champions League, that'll bring in a load more money, the Nike deal's bringing us in money. It has to be an embarrassment to them that will make them work now and that will make them spend. That's all I think they understand. You often hear people saying there's only one thing a bully understands, and that's a slap in the mouth. Well, with FSG, I truly believe their only Achilles heel, the only way that they actually listen, is when they're embarrassed publicly, when they know that their brand is damaged, when their PR machine has to kick into overdrive. And that's what we need to do now as fans. We need to make sure that the world knows what a cheapskate John W. Henry is, and what a bottom feeder he is, and what a horrendous owner of a football club he is, and what an absolute spoofer he is. Because he is. He's sitting in Boston, and do you think he gives one damn about you or I or any other Liverpool fan that's sitting here worrying about the season, worrying if our manager has the opportunities to come out and produce a miracle, worrying if the players feel like they're not getting back and maybe they're going to move on? He doesn't care. But you care, and I care, and those people that spend their hard-earned money to go to Anfield week in and week out, they care. The people who travel over from other parts of the world care. You know what they did last year? And I'll challenge anyone to challenge me on this. They wrote off an entire season. That's what they were willing to do. They sat there knowing we needed a midfielder and didn't bring one in. So they were happy to just allow that season happen. But you couldn't. You had to pay your Sky bill. You had to pay your BT bill. You had to buy the jersey for your kids or for yourself. If you wanted to go to a game, you had to buy your season ticket. Fans can't just write off a season. We have the right as fans to get into every season and to feel optimistic and positive and that anything is achievable. They're not giving us that. Somebody said you're too emotional. Well, firstly, learn to spell. It's Y-O-U''R-E, mate. It's not your. Secondly, if you're not emotional about football, you're doing it wrong. And I wouldn't say I'm too emotional. I would say that this is me being calm. I'm pretty measured. But if you don't get emotional about football, quite frankly, I don't want to have a conversation with you, because I live and breathe this. It means everything to me. Every single Saturday, Sunday dictates my week, dictates my mood, dictates how I feel about life in general. So if you think I'm too emotional, nobody's keeping you here, pal. Feel free to pop off. Newsflash, John W. Henry doesn't give a toss about you. Get over it. Are you actually a fan, Steve? Or are you just another pathetic little yes man? Like, you're telling all of us in the chat to get over it. Yeah, here you are watching an Irish fella sitting in his chair moaning about a football club, and you think we're the ones that need to get over something? Dude, we've every right to be annoyed. We've every right to be pissed off. We've every right to feel hard done by. We've every right to feel frustrated. And yes, John W. Henry doesn't give a toss about us. But no, I won't get over it. I'll continue to fight for what's right. I'll continue to fight for how I feel. And I'll continue to want the best for Liverpool Football Club. And if you don't want to watch me, get over it. Why do people think that emotions are bad? I don't know, man. I don't know, but I love it. I'm an emotional human being in general. So I just live by emotion. I can't change that. Right, let's go through what we know over the last 24 hours or so. So let's give a few little updates. Let's start off with saying goodbye to somebody who's leaving the football club. Max Waltman has joined Oxford United. So thank you to him for his service to Liverpool Football Club. He's moved to Oxford United at 19 years of age. Wishing Max all the best. Yeah, so thank you, Max, for everything. Genuinely wish him the best in the rest of his career. You know, it's no shame that some young lads don't make it at a big club like Liverpool or United or whatever, and you just wish the best for them. You hope that they go on to have careers in the game anyway. So all the best to Max. I hope he has a great career. Frank Kessie, somebody else who Liverpool fans had been clamouring for over the week. He's another mercenary. He's taken the Saudi money. 50 million offer apparently coming in via Fabrizio Romano for him to go to Saudi and leave Barcelona. So I think that's one name we can rule off the list as well. Like I said to you guys before, I never understood. If we wanted Kessie, we could have got him when he left AC Milan. Didn't need to wait till now. But it looks like he's off to Saudi as well. Jeff, thank you, buddy. Elusive Glue said, FSG don't even care about the Red Sox and sport in their own country. If they're bad for the Red Sox, why would they give a cahoots about Liverpool? Jeff, you're preaching to the choir, my friend. I've said this consistently. If we can't see that they're caring about their hometown club in a sport that they actually grew up watching, what hope have we got all the way across the Atlantic? A club that they don't really have an emotional connection to. A club that they admitted themselves they bought because it was going for a song. They picked up an undervalued asset, very cheap. And look, they've been steady. They've done some good stuff. But now they're resting on their laurels and they're just waiting for the financial bubble in football to hit its peak and then they'll cash in. So if you think FSG are suddenly going to start doing the right thing, I really do feel like you're either over-optimistic or willfully ignorant. Keep up the criticism of FSG, even though they don't care about us criticising them. They do, though. That's the thing, Philip. Now, I get what you're saying, mate. They don't probably care that I'm sitting here saying this, but ultimately they do care about bad publicity. It's been proven before. When the backlash comes from fans, they have listened and they have climbed back down. Look at the Super League stuff. Look at the furloughing of staff. Look at the £77 tickets and stuff like that. They are willing or able to be embarrassed. That sounds so weird and bad to say, by the way. Feels so bad to sit here and go, let's all look to embarrass our owners into doing the right thing. But that's where we're at. This is the truth of being a Liverpool fan. Like, it isn't that there isn't money in football or in the Premier League. It isn't that Liverpool are under FFP threat. It isn't that we haven't got the availability or the access to get funds to bring in players. It is just that the owners are too cheap. It is that simple. And for all the promises and false dawns throughout the year building up to this transfer window, here we are, 3rd of August, a week and 2 days from the start of the Premier League, and we have lost 8 players and brought in 2. And we are one of the biggest branches, one of the biggest franchises or sports clubs or whatever the hell you want to call it for the part of the world you're in. We're one of the biggest names in world sport, and we're being ran like we're an upper level championship team. We're being outspent by clubs like Aston Villa. I said this to you yesterday. 17 Premier League clubs have made more signings than Liverpool in this window. And we were in dire need of signings. Make it make sense. FSG has watched Liverpool win everything with the small amount of money they've been given, and they think all they have to do is that. Well, surely they've learned some lessons that doesn't happen all the time. Like, we got a bit lucky with the Coutinho bid from Barcelona. That set up Jurgen Klopp to be able to go out there and bring in Alisson Becker and Virgil van Dijk, and that was transformative. No doubt about that. Those 2 signings, the gem that we uncovered in Mohamed Salah when we bought him from Roma for a song, those things, yes, there was a bit of luck on our side, some great coaching from the manager, some hard work from those players themselves. But ultimately, we've been promised a big summer. It's not your words or my words. It's been briefed to the media. This was the summer that we're aware, we've heard you, we know what needs to be done, we'll do it. And again, to roll out an FSG phrase, they want to under-promise and over-deliver. They said those words, not you, not me, not Klopp. FSG, so they want to under-promise and over-deliver. I think that they've failed on that one massively. Do a poll, FSG in or FSG out, and see how we feel. Right, let's try that one. Let me see if I can set up this poll, mate. Right, here we go. Cool. Poll's gone up at the top there. Vote away. Simple question. FSG in or out? Over to you guys to vote. Craig, it was a big summer for outgoings. Yeah, it was, Jeff, you're right. And even at that, see, that makes me even more angry, Jeff, because going into this, we had a budget, right? But we've just increased that budget by at least 53 million with two sales. So if anything, we should have more money now. But again, we're going and acting like we haven't got a pot to pee in. Missed out on Bellingham from Birmingham. Missed out on Haaland from Leipzig. Missed out on Camavinga from Rouen. Yeah, missed out on Tchouaméni from Monaco. Even the young lads, Alex Scott, that we were talking about from Bristol at one point, looks like he's off to Bournemouth. They look like they've gazumped Wolves, who are looking to bring him in. 25 million. So when I start to see things like this sums up our transfer window, right? We know Gabri Veiga has a buyout clause of 40 million euro. So what do? We offer 25 apparently. Like, what are we at? Like, yes, you can say maybe offer 25 if you want to put him back on loan for the rest of the season. Okay, fair enough. But ultimately, that's not the type of business we should be prioritising right now. We shouldn't be prioritising signing a young lad so we can send him back on loan to Celta Vigo for the year. When the clock's ticking on the Premier League starting, we should be signing 2 midfielders and a centre-back. And then at the end of the window, if we have time left, go back and do this deal with Celta Vigo. That's the common sense thing to do. 50 million for a relegated player, 35 million for a World Cup winner. Yeah, I mean, look, I do understand that there isn't value in Lavia. I get it. Anybody who says to me, Craig, 50 million for a player who got relegated down to the Championship at 19 years of age, has 1 season experience in the Premier League is too much money. Absolutely. If that's the case, you just move on. You just go. You just go to your next target. You don't spend the whole summer trying to save 5 or 6 million. That's embarrassing. And we know that Liverpool are willing to pay at least 40 million for this kid. And we're fairly sure Southampton would take 45. So again, we're nickel and diming over 5 million quid for a priority. Well, more than a priority at this point. We don't have a 6. Cato went for peanuts, Ox not sold yet. Cato went for nothing, free, 0. He his contract expired and he went and joined Werder Bremen for free. Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain for free. Milner for free, but fair enough. I don't really have anything to say. Like, remember, these are the owners that certain parts of the media tell you are geniuses. These are the owners who have been lauded for their transfer business and their intelligence. Where's the succession planning? Because we all knew our team was aging. We knew our midfield was getting older. We knew Van Dijk was 32. We knew all this. So where's the succession planning? Because you're supposed to be geniuses at FSG. So where's the intelligence? Because I'm an idiot and I could have done a better job. I'm sure many of our chat there will admit to being, well, at least not claiming to be geniuses, but at least they would have planned for this. It's basic stuff. It's pathetic. It's embarrassing. It isn't befitting of a club like Liverpool Football Club. 40 million net plus we save 40 million on wages. Probably more than that on wages for sale. I think you're maybe even underestimating the amount we saved on wages. What do we move on wage-wise? Firmino, 200 grand a week. I think that's 10 grand over, but bear with me. Henderson, 200 grand a week. That's 400 grand a week. Cater was probably on at least 120 grand a week. So that's about 6 million a year. So that's 520 grand. Who else we moved on? Milner was a high earner on 140. That's 660 grand. Who else have we lost? Midfields. Who else have we moved on that I'm forgetting about here? Oxlade-Chamberlain, Keita, Milner, Henderson. Fabinho was on about 180, I think. Maybe 170 because he signed a new contract. That's about, what are we on there? We were 660, were we? So 768 something. And then I'm sure there's one or two more I've forgotten about and haven't mentioned. Let's say £1,000,000 a week is minimum that we've moved off the wage bill, which is 50 million a year saved in wages. Plus the 53 million that we brought in transfer fees. And that'll go up as well. I mean, we haven't even started speaking about the smaller transfers, the few kids that have moved on, or the potential money we'll get for Nat Phillips. It's madness. Arthur Mello's wages as well. Yeah, fair point. And that. By the way, just to put this in perspective, the difference between us having Lavia and not getting Lavia is 5 million, which coincidentally is the amount they pissed up against the wall loaning Arthur Mello for the season. 5 million loan fee to Juventus on top of his wages. So, geniuses at work yet again. So they'll nickel and dime when it comes to a player that the club want for the long term. For 5, 6 or 7 years, they'll nickel and dime over 5 million. To bring in a player that I could have told you wouldn't work at Liverpool, or any Liverpool fan with a brain could have told you wouldn't work at Liverpool, they were willing to go and spend 5 million. And his wages. It doesn't add up. It doesn't make sense. Rate Liverpool's transfer window. Right now, at this moment, 4 out of 10. Which feels a bit bad, Kevin, because... Or not Kevin, who was it? Manroop. Because I do really, really like the players we've brought in. Like, really. Over the moon with the 2 signings we've made. But it's 3 too short at this moment in time. And remember, one of the reasons that we couldn't go out and buy players, one of the reasons that you've been told over and over and over again was ... the wage bill. What's happened? We've removed a load of money off the wage bill. So why aren't we signing players? Because the wage bill was part of the problem, according to the owners. So now that the wage bill isn't part of the problem, what's the problem? Where's the money, John? Stop being cheap, John. I missed the super chat from somebody. I'm going to read it out here because my chief mod, Mark, to being the big hero that he is, messaged it to me. Mohammed Shama from Egypt, mate, thank you for your super chat. I apologise I missed it. Let me read this out now. He said, greetings from Egypt. I think some of the guys are trying to say that FSG look at the club different from the business point of view. It's different to us as football fans. And Mohammed, that's a fair point. And yes, they do have to look at it as a business, but let me put it to you this way, my friend. They bought a business for just under 300 million. That business is now worth 4.5 billion. I think they can safely say they've made more of a return on their investment than they ever would have dreamed possible. So maybe lavishing a few more players and having a bit more success to push up that value a little bit would probably be a fairly reasonable expectation to have of them. And JC Galvanile, thank you for the super chat as well, mate. Jacob David said, do you think we have a chance at signing Thuram? And thank you for your super chat. I think it's your first comment. We should have, right? Because Nice have already said he's available. Like they've said to the world that, yeah, Kefren Thuram is somebody that they're willing to sell. So, yeah, we should have a chance. But again, I'm going to say the same thing. Why haven't we done this already? If he was somebody that we really wanted, why haven't we done it already? A lot of this just doesn't make any sense. Craig, you are the GOAT. I absolutely am not, Finn. And do you know what? I said this to my friend earlier on today. I'm actually a really private person in life. I don't go out. I don't party. I'm really boring. And Liverpool Football Club and boxing are the only two things outside of my family that really provoke emotion in me. And this goes against my... This goes against my better instincts to do this type of stuff, to be on here talking about Liverpool, because I'm nobody special. I'm just a guy from Ireland who got lucky and somehow people watch and come in and chat with and have some fun with, and I'll never understand why. But I also feel like now that I do have this little platform, I'd be doing a disservice to the people that stayed with me on this journey if I didn't continue to speak honestly and openly. Because some of the things that I come out with, my life would be a lot easier if I told the company line. My life would be a lot easier if I wasn't so argumentative or if I wasn't so judgmental on things. But I can only do and be guided by how I feel and what I feel to be true. And I don't see any sincerity in these owners. I just don't. I don't see that they have any interest on a personal level about the fan base, about the club. They only view it as an asset. Nothing more, nothing less. And you can call me an idealist for wanting an owner that is emotionally invested as well as financially stable. But surely that's why you get into this. Surely that's why you get into owning sports clubs. I mean, apart from the fact that it's a pretty damn cool thing to own, surely you want to do it because you can better the lives of people as well as your own. Because they've made a lot of money. They're going to continue to make a lot of money. But they can also spread joy around the world, make football fans happy, give us something to believe in, and just spread some positivity. But they don't do that. They lie to us. They manipulate us. They treat us like idiots. They tell us one thing, then they bait and switch and do something else. They say, look over here, well, something's going on over here. They tell us they're geniuses. They tell us they make loads of money. They tell us the corporate partnerships they've brought in are game-changing. But then they tell us we don't have any money. They tell us the wage bill is too high, so we slash the wage bill. We still aren't active in the transfer market as much as we should be. So they're like Donald Trump. You know, people who support Trump will support Trump no matter what he does. And I don't mean to bring politics into this, so excuse me on that. But that's what I think these FSG apologists are like. They're like, they've got a hard-on for businessmen or something. I don't get it. Like, if you're a Liverpool Football Club fan, you want the best for the club. You want the manager to be successful. You want your captain to lift trophies. You want memories created for you, your friends, and those amazing people inside the stadium. You want to go into work on a Monday morning dreaming. You want to go into work getting excited about ribbing your mates and winding the club up or the mate that supports United or Arsenal, whatever. It is more than 90 minutes on a Saturday. It is our existence. It is how we look forward to celebrating, to being joyous, to connecting people, to bringing us together. It's called a beautiful game for a reason. And these guys just, they aren't it. They don't even come to the city. They don't even go to the games each week. We're an afterthought for them. Another long season on the cards, I think. But, like, how can anybody defend them at this point? Honestly. Comparing Trump and FSG now, I more compared the people who follow them than them to themselves. I more compared the blind allegiance to FSG. So, it took me a long time. By the way, I was supportive of the owners for many years. Super League was my last straw, and I knew from then that I had a good read on FSG, because if somebody was willing to be that devious, that manipulative, to take your history, your legacy, the way you watch football, the European Cup is what Liverpool's been built on. Look at the great captains lifting those trophies above their head. They took all of that and they were willing to sell it just so they could have this closed system where they continue to make money. And they didn't consult the manager, they didn't consult the club captain, they didn't consult the supporters groups, they didn't consult the season ticket holders, they consulted nobody. We just woke up one day and seen this post to say, oh, by the way, we're now joining a Super League and best of luck with it. I mean, seriously, whatever else you think, that happened. And it didn't happen by accident. And the apology was pathetic, because he's pathetic and he thinks you're an idiot. He thinks we're all idiots. So, Roachuk, who said wrong, exclamation points. Again, dude, I'm happy to have these conversations, this back and forth, but I need a bit more to go on than one word saying wrong. You know what I mean? If you want to put a point in, by all means, we'll talk about it. John W. Henry equals Scrooge McDuck. Yeah, pretty much. So, is there anything positive? Well, I believe Lavia will happen. I believe that we will, in a way, want that to happen before he plays for Southampton when the championship gets underway. Because even Liverpool aren't stupid enough to run the risk of him picking up an injury. Now, you probably say to me, Craig, hang on, he's played pre-season with Southampton. Yeah, but the serious stuff kicks off now this weekend. Championship starts a week before the Premier League. So I do think we'll get news maybe late tonight, maybe tomorrow, of Liverpool's third bid. What's supposed to be our final bid, according to reports. And we'll see if that's accepted or not. But if it isn't... Now, whatever you say about centre-backs as well, trust me, I know a few journalists, and I certainly have my team keeping an eye on social media. There really isn't much on a centre-back. So either the club are being geniuses at keeping some of these names under wraps, or nothing's happening. So let's have a look at the poll, see how it's doing. 1,500 votes so far. 84% of Liverpool fans are FSG out. 16% are FSG in. Now, I will say that at least 10% of the FSG ins, in my head, are opposition fans just on a wind-up. And that's all right. You've got to take that into account when you're doing these polls. There's a few top reds there, perhaps, but I don't know. Craig, with no number 6 ready for the start of the season, would you rather see Matip there over Jones? So I feel it's really unfair on Curtis Jones, Mad Munch, because if Curtis Jones plays in the 6 and doesn't play well, he's going to come in for criticism. And he's already had enough of that from the likes of me in his career. And he's started to win Liverpool fans back around. And he started to show us what he's capable of. But as the Athletic wrote themselves, he's a front foot player. He isn't a defensive midfielder. So the fact that Curtis Jones is being shoehorned into this is again an indictment of our business. It's an indictment of our planning. It's an indictment of our structure. So asking me, do I prefer Matip or Curtis Jones in the 6? Neither is the real answer, because neither of them are good enough in that role. Like, it's not like we have a handy number to start the season. We're going away at Stamford Bridge to Chelsea with a new manager, with a load of money spent. Luckily for us, looks like Nkunku might miss the game because he has a knee injury. And we're not giving ourselves the best opportunity to get off to a good start. We're going into one of the toughest fixtures of the season away from home with no recognised defensive midfield player. None. And we've sold 2 of them. And that's supposed to be good leadership? That's supposed to be good business? That's supposed to be smart from FSG? Becky Barrett, so we need Saudi to buy us. No, because that's an even bigger problem down the line, Becky. Look, I disagree with a lot of people on this, and I'm sure other people have other opinions on it. But this whole Saudi thing is not going to end well. Not for some club out there is going to end up going under because of an owner that comes in and gets bored and just pisses off. And the Saudi stuff for me is, I never want any country owning Liverpool. I don't care what country it is or where they're from. I want Liverpool to be a private business owned by a private person or a group, but certainly not run by a country. Because once you're a country running a football club, there's no jeopardy. There's no risk. Because you don't have to balance the books. You don't have to even nearly make a profit. But you can call that debt in at one point. And if you do call that dead in, like, here's a stat for you. Roman Abramovich, I believe, was at Chelsea for about 17 years. Chelsea on average lost 900 grand a week for 17 years. Think about that. They were losing nearly £1 million a week for the entire time that Roman Abramovich was there. That's ridiculous. That's not healthy. That's not protecting the football club. And something like this is going to happen with one of these Saudi ownership groups. If Saudi decide to change direction and that football is no longer something they're interested in, do you think they'll think twice about just dropping a club or asset stripping the shit out of it or selling off all the best players? They wouldn't care less. They'd do it without batting an eyelid. So that's just a bigger problem down the line, in my opinion, than the one we're facing right now with these owners. Demonstrations needed outside Anfield. I mean, I'm not going to disagree with you, but I really don't believe there's an appetite for it amongst a good section of the match-going Reds. And it's embarrassing because, again, I don't know, like, these people are spending their hard-earned money week in and week out. And I know you'll support the team through thick and thin, and I love them for that. But you do have a duty to speak up. We all do. And I don't know how anybody else can say that this is okay, that this is acceptable, that this is what they dreamt of with these owners. Again, we've gone from winning a European Cup, a Premier League, a Club World Cup, a League Cup and FA Cup, to not even qualifying for the Champions League. We've gone from being 2 games away from the quadruple, an unheard of accomplishment, 2 games away, to not even being in the top competition in Europe in one season. And our answer to that from these owners is not to go out there and make a definitive statement to the world that they mean business. It's not to go out there and do what Arsenal did and feel we missed out ever so slightly. We're going in there and we're getting in the best midfielder we can and we're going to pay a record fee for him. No. It's to sit over in Boston like the pussies that they are, brief the friendly media and the brown nosers about investment down the line and about other positive stuff that puts them in a glowing light. And again, they treat us like we're morons. And they think those gullible idiots will just fall for it. They'll pacify them for a little bit, then they'll go away. And as long as they keep getting away with that, as long as there are people willing to drink the soup or Kool-Aid, then we've got a problem. So we know that fans are capable of organising. Liverpool fans probably better so than anybody. Look at the great work that was done to get Hicks and Gillette out. Amazing. And one part of that was Liverpool fans bombarding sponsors, telling them to pull their funding, telling them that they've no faith in the owners, that they don't want them to have anything to do with the club. We're going to have to come up with something similar to embarrass these owners into either act like responsible owners who want to win or to sell up and go. JB, thank you for gifting a membership, mate. That's very kind of you. I think I missed the super chat. This is what happens when I go into a monologue, by the way. Oftentimes I do miss super chat, so I apologise if I have. Who is Andre? So he's a player that plays for Fluminense. He's a defensive midfielder. I think he's 22 or 23 years of age. Liverpool are looking at him as an option. There's 2 different thought processes on what might happen. So they're willing to sell, but currently they are 1-1 with Argentinos Juniors in the Copa Libertadores with a second leg to go. And they want, that's like their Champions League. So they want to do well in that competition. So the thoughts are that they either get paid an over-the-top amount of money. So 20 million euros being the number that's always been mentioned for Andre. But apparently now, if you want to take him in this market, you have to pay 40 million euro. Because basically you have to pay them, I don't know, damage money or whatever you want to call it. But if you wanted to buy him and loan him back till January when their season's over, then you can have him for 20. But either way, I don't know what's going to happen there. Now, it's come from a very reliable source in Melissa Reddy and a few other top tier journalists, so I do believe the interest in Andre is real. But again, you're asking yourself, what are we doing? Where's the progression? If we know that we're interested in Andre, if we know that we're interested in Thuram, if we know that we're interested in Inacio, where's the activity? What are we doing? Again, tick-tock, 9 days till the league gets underway. Ever since Klarna FSG are finished, said Neil. Neil, imagine you were an owner, mate. Imagine you ran a business, Neil, and you were known for being so tight with money that a company like Klarna took the piss out of your business. A company like Klarna, who, for those of you who may not know, are a company that help people buy things. So let's say you wanted to buy something that was 900 quid, but you didn't have 900 quid in one go to spend. They let you spread that over 3 payments of 300 quid a payment. I think it's interest free. And they're on social media tapping up John W. Henry and FSG and telling them they'll loan them the money to make the transfers happen. We're having the piss taken out of us by a payment company. Think about that. A company known for helping people who can't afford a particular item, spread the cost of that item, are atting our owner on social media because they're so cheap. Liverpool. What's the weather been like in Ireland? Cloudy, but warm enough to be fair. But cloudy. How many players do you want in? So at this moment, my friend, 2 midfielders and a centre back is the bare minimum. The bare minimum. Right, I'm going to end that poll. It's been up long enough. Nearly got 2,000 votes. And if I end that poll, you'll see that with 1,900 or so votes, it was 83% that said FSG out. 16% said FSG in, and I don't know where the other 1% are because my maths makes that 99%. So, yeah, pretty adamant that people aren't happy with the owners. And as I said earlier on, I would imagine some of those 16% are people on the wind-up, and that's all right because I'd do it if I was on another channel and I wasn't a club supporter. Jonathan said, missed my super chat. Scrolling back up, Jonathan, don't see it. Jonathan, just throw another comment in, lash a burger beside it, buddy, and I'll read it out. But I do apologise if I missed it. Southampton play tomorrow, so they're playing Friday. Oh, there you go then, Mido. So even less time before potentially Lavia is out on the pitch playing competitively for Southampton. And serious question, what if he got injured? Really? What if he pulled a hamstring? What if he, I don't know, got a contact injury and he was out for 2 or 3 months? What happens then? All because we wanted to save a few million. Then we have to go look at the market all over again, start the process again. But we'll get the excuse. Oh, we wanted to sign him, but yeah, you had all summer to do it, you cheap fuck. Grind said, John W. Henry needs to pull the finger out and actually invest in the bloody club. They're going to lose out on the beloved Champions League money if they don't bring in 3 more players. Yeah, we've already missed out on 1 season of it. And look at Arsenal. First year back in the Champions League in, I want to say 6 or 7 years. And they're spending over 200 million. And probably going to go to 250 million. And Arsenal fans were calling out Kroenke. We haven't got a pot to piss in. But there's still people defending our owners. Who would be a priced right Lavia alternative? I mean, for me, if you couldn't get Lavia, honestly, and I'm not trying to take the piss, I'd look to go and try and Tchouaméni. because, apparently we had the money available for him back in the day, and apparently he could be dispensable to Real Madrid, so why not put a bid in there? Or you go to Andre. I wouldn't say Amrabat because I truly don't feel he's good enough long term. He could solve a problem. He could come in and help. Surely a full pre-season is worth 5 million. Well, Kelvin, sorry. Let's say we get off to a bad start. A league position is probably worth that 5 million you've mentioned. So the difference between finishing second or third or fourth or first or second, I'd imagine that 5 million could be small change. So yeah, get the players in early and give the manager the best opportunity to get you as an owner the best league position, the longest run in the European competition, and the best revenue. So yeah, makes sense again. Careful of your blood pressure. Weirdly, I do get it checked all the time, Alex, and it's actually quite good, to be honest with you. Craig, if I gave you 100 million, what other players would you sign and sell? I wouldn't be selling anybody at this point. It's too late in the window to be looking to rebuild. So at this point, I'm sticking with what we have. Who would I bring in for 100 million? Depends. Like, 100 million for 3 players. I don't know if we're going to get that done. So what I would do is I'd buy Andre. I'd pay the 40 million euro and I'd buy Andre. So I'd bring him in for what? 33, 34 million pound. And then I'd just go straight for a centre back. That has to be the priority. Who would I bring in? I mean, I throw money at Benfica if they're willing to sell Silva. Can't go for, obviously, Colwill because he's gone. I don't know enough about Inacio to tell you if he's good enough. I'd feel comfortable giving Crystal Palace the 50 million pound they want for Mark Gay, in all honesty. Or I'd go for Decore if we couldn't get him. Like, there are options there, which is what makes me even more confused why we're not doing it. They might do something once the value of the club drops, not being in the Champions League. But right now, we have an opportunity to make last season a blip, to get right back into the Champions League and to, not have this happen again. But we've seen with Manchester United, with Arsenal, and with other clubs, that once you drop out of the top tier, once you fall back away from those regular Champions League places, it's not easy to get back there. So if we go 2 years out of the Champions League, heaven forbid, then you're looking at the last 2 years of Klopp's time at Liverpool. One of them won't be in the Champions League. And you're starting to go, this is suddenly looking like a much bigger problem. Will Klopp ever leave, said Mark Bavin, if we don't sign anybody else? No, because I think that he's too loyal to us. I mean, the fans. He signed on and he'll do the best that he can do. Now, there's obviously an argument about whether he should speak up more or not. And that's, for each individual person to have their thought process on. But no, I don't think he'd walk away. I think he feels a sense of responsibility. And, above all else, he's a great coach. So he'll see and hope that he can do the best with the players that are there. But that's just another thing that FSG will take advantage of, though. And are taking advantage of. Doesn't Klopp need to be blamed for not speaking against FSG? So my point will be yes. Now, I guess the question is, how should he speak out against the owners? Because you have some managers like Rafael Benitez, Antonio Conte, Jose Mourinho, who just don't care about speaking out. Like, if they want something to say, they'll say it and be damned with the owners. Klopp's a bit different. And it's one of the things that I both love and also hate about him at the same time, is that loyalty to players who are underperforming or to owners who are underperforming. Like, it's a very tricky thing to come on and moan about somebody not throwing somebody else under the bus, if you get me. But I guess a time does come where he has to be selfish and think, well, it's his legacy on the line. People are going to look back on his 10 or 11 years managing Liverpool Football Club and judge him on his achievements over the course of history. And I want him and all of us to look back at that time and think, we did the best we could. Do you remember those 11 years with Klopp? We were really a force. We won trophies. Not once off. Not this, you did it once fluke. We won multiple trophies. And we've 3 years left. So there is an opportunity to bring in more trophies. But we're not giving him the best opportunity as a club to do it. Because we're not giving him the money to operate in the market. Tchouameni's on over 200k a week at Real. I don't think we can afford him. Well, Fabinho was on that. Henderson was on that. And they've just left. Firmino was on that. He's just left. So I think we've got a few 200 grand slots that we could afford, Ali. So again, I would respectfully disagree on that one. As a fan yourself, Craig, what's your biggest fears with Liverpool in these transfers? That we pick up an early season injury and we're screwed. Like, let's say McAllister's injury against Bayern Munich that he picked up, and thankfully there's nothing wrong. But let's say that was an ACL. That's him out for the season. And now we're suddenly looking at Szoboszlai and Jones to be our attacking threat in midfield. We're always one injury away from a drama. We're always one injury away from a crisis under FSG. And the squad isn't deep enough. It wasn't deep enough last year. It isn't going to be deep enough this year. But they'll tell us it is. They'll tell us that Bajcetic is like a new signing. That Jones in the 6 could be possible. No, it isn't. He's not a 6. Read articles and you'll see it's a specialised position. Liverpool need an enforcer. Liverpool need a ball breaker. Liverpool need somebody to go in there and read the game defensively. None of that screams Curtis Jones. Getting on the front foot, making something happen, breaking a line, picking a pass. That's Curtis Jones. That's where his attributes are. So again, we're being forced to put square pegs into round holes. It's like having a leak at home. And you bring your uncle around instead of a plumber and he whacks a bit of plumber's tape around it and tells you that'll hope for a while. And then 3 months later, you ring your uncle back and say, that's leaking again. And he said, did you not get someone to fix it? That was just a repair job. And you say, no, that's how I look at this situation. We're just kicking the can down the road and we're going to have future problems. Jack Howe said, thank you for the super chat, Jack said, can people stop touting we don't have money? FSG are worth £21 billion. They're spending £1 billion on a baseball village. We have loads. So, I'm trying to find a way to say this without sounding like I'm defending FSG on this one. But each one of those things are ran as individual entities. So, to me, there's no correlation between what they spend at the Red Sox and what they spend here. Unless you're looking at it from the point of view of they found a way to keep them competitive. Because the issue here should only be, can Liverpool Football Club access the money themselves to make more transfers? And the answer is unequivocally yes. Without a shadow of a doubt, yes. Don't have to go into much debt. We can access it. We can spend it. Without having to worry about what FSG do with Fenway, Rouge Racing, or the Boston Globe, or the Red Sox, or the Pittsburgh Penguins, or any of their other franchises or teams. Us as an entity ourselves are well capable of being able to fund this. They just choose not to. And that's even more of an indictment on their ownership. They choose to be cheap fucks. They don't have to be. Remember, I think I'm right in saying that we were the first Premier League club to report a profit of over 100 million. I'm pretty certain on that. Most clubs run at a loss. Break even would be great. But our owner somehow at one point reported 100 million profit? And telling us we haven't got a pot to piss in? Manchester City win the Champions League and the Premier League last year. And immediately we see the article saying that they'll have 250 million to spend because of the prize money from the stuff that they won. But yet, as I mentioned last night, when we won the Champions League, Adrian, Elliott and Sepp van den Berg. Where's the money, John? Where's the money? Craig, even Aston Villa in the Conference League have spent almost more than us. Should be able to spend at least 250, 300 million considering the players. How many articles did you guys read that said that there's a war chest for Klopp? A 200 million war chest was being spoken about a few months ago in the media. And yet, here we are now, and we are net spend of 40 so far in this window. Brilliant. Where's the other 160 million? And the worst part of all of this is that they keep getting away with it. That's the worst part. The same lie gets told every year. Do you know what? Okay, I'm going to equate it to this. Everybody will know that on the eve of the Premier League fixtures being released every single year, the fake list comes out the night before and does the rounds on social media. And even though people will have seen this year after year, a lot of people will go, what if that is right? What if that is the fixture list? What if we are playing this team on week 1? That's kind of what this is like. It's like the same stuff happens and people somehow are removed from the reality of the situation to the most optimistic possible point of the situation with no rhyme or reason to have that optimism. And those of us who dare speak out against it, we're either deluded, ungrateful, wolves, don't understand what the football club is about, are thick, are foreigners, you know? But yet the very people who are taking the piss out of you, you're blowing smoke up their backside. And those of us who actually try to want the best for our football club and be realistic about it. No one's sitting here saying spend 250 million on Mbappe. Nobody's sitting here going, why aren't we in there trying to buy Haaland off Man City? We're being realistic. We're asking for what we know is possible. We're not dreamers. We're not sitting here looking for a £1 billion transfer window. We're looking for what other clubs that are apparently worth less than us are doing. FSG pay these journalists for positive feedback on FSG branding. Look, the Echo, and I have to point out again, I don't know personally any of the journalists that work for the Echo. And what I'm about to say is not aimed at any one person in particular, but they're a disgrace. They got access to John W. Henry for an interview. And since that, the amount of brown-nosing from that absolute specimen of a publication is embarrassing. If they're not telling us how great FSG are, how clever the Nike deal was, they're linking us to Mbappe week after week. They're talking about transfers that we know isn't going to happen. And they are the biggest clickbait attempt at a website I've ever seen. Go on to the Echo and by 3 minutes in, you'll want to punch your screen because it'll be resizing every 2 minutes. You'll be bombarded with shitty ads and there's very little actual journalism going on. But yet people turn to them all the time. And do you know what else you'll see in the Echo? All the other brown nosers, or all the other things that are owned by Reach Media that you and I probably aren't supposed to know about, but are all interlinked and they're all bigging each other up. So Shankly Gate said this, Redmen said that. All these friendly things are all interlinking to give you an impression that everything's brilliant and that you're wrong for speaking out. But the truth is, there's way more of us. There's way more people that feel like I do and like you do. And we just need to get these people together. Because these people like the Echo, they're not doing us any good. They're not doing our fan base any use. They're looking after their own interests. And as a business, maybe that's okay. But it isn't okay to claim that you're trying to look out for a fan base, or that you're speaking on behalf of a fan base, or you're trying to inform a fan base. You're manipulating a fan base. What do you think of Buffon's retirement? Look, an incredible servant to the game, Gigi Buffon. One of my heroes growing up, as a keeper myself when I was playing. Yeah, love him. And I think he's 45 now, right, when he retired. So, yeah, fair enough. But, yeah, just a great servant to the game. Even Man U fans saying FSG in says it all. It's nuts, Jack. It's nuts. Right, my friends, I'm going to have to go because I have a few videos to record and I've got to get ready for tomorrow. So I hope I can see some of you guys in Dublin tomorrow. We are going to be at the Sugar Club for our live show. So there'll be no stream tomorrow, no stream Saturday, but there will be videos going out to keep you up to date. I'm making a couple of videos on potential rule changes in football. One of them will go out tomorrow, one will go out on Saturday. So until then, my friends, I will be back live on Sunday. Looking forward to seeing some of you in Dublin tomorrow. Appreciate your support. I'm sorry it hasn't been a more upbeat stream and coming on here to tell you about signings that are close, but as of right now, I'm not aware of any, so I'm not going to come on and lie. Appreciate you guys. Much love. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.